Hello everyone, my name is Michael Chilvers. I'm the Medical Director at East and North Herts NHS Trust.
And I'm Elizabeth Kendrick, and I'm the Medical Director at Hertfordshire Community Trust.
And we'd just like a few minutes of your time because we'd like to talk to you about admission alternatives.
We think admission alternatives are really important because hospital isn't always the safest place for people. There's risk of hospital-acquired infections. We know that older people get more delirium in hospital, and also they can decondition in hospital, and at home they may stay more active.
That's right. So I think we recognise that actually in many examples where being at home is much better for our patients and for your patients than being in hospital, for the reasons that Elizabeth just elaborated. So hospital can be a risky place, particularly for the elderly and the frail. So Elizabeth, what options do we have to alternatives to admission?
So during the COVID pandemic, we set up a really successful admission alternative, which is still going. And that admission alternative is able to deliver IV antibiotics in the community, subcutaneous fluids for people who are a bit dehydrated, the community DVT pathway, which is still being well used, but also assessing people who've fallen, assessing people who are at end of life who might need some support. Because the last thing that we want is people who are at the end of their life dying in the emergency department on a trolley.
And I think you will have seen examples, and we've all seen examples where we've managed to avoid patients coming into hospital, and it's been much better for them and for their families. So I think these alternatives are there, but what we've noted from conversations with your colleagues and with our colleagues is that maybe we're not always clear on on what is available and how to access them. So Elizabeth, what's the simplest way for people to access these services?
So if you have any patients that you want to refer, please phone the referral hub. It's 0300 123 7571, and there's a way for professionals to get through quicker to that number by following the options on the phone line. And you can then talk to a multi-professional team to access the right service for your patients.
And this is accessible by colleagues from general practice, from the ambulance service, and from residential homes, care homes?
Yes, care homes can also phone to talk to somebody there if they're worried about a resident in the care home.
So, as well as colleagues from primary care and the ambulance service and other areas of community accessing this, it's also accessible from ED. So our ED clinicians can access alternatives for admission, so it's never too late to avoid an admission.
Yeah, and they can be helped by the clinical navigators in the emergency department. If they have any queries, they can approach the clinical navigator for advice.
So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that this has been of assistance to you.